Marvez is with the Elite. I'm really starting to enjoy Marvez as the go-to interviewer here for the Elite. And he does introduce Okada by his full name, but then the Bucks say, that's good, but next time say it in his native language of Japanese. So I cannot wait for this man to attempt some Japanese in the future.
Well, his name is being said in Japanese, but I
think they want the full introduction to be in Japanese.
Exactly. They want Marvez to speak English. And this allowed Matthew to very, again, obnoxiously remind us of his Duolingo streak, which is currently at 165 days, and he's crushing it, he says. And even demonstrates by saying, Mizu onegaishimasu, which means water, please. And he's so proud of this. There's nothing.
65 days. What an endorsement for this app.
There's something so incredibly heelish and obnoxious about somebody bragging about their Duolingo streak that Matt has very effectively tapped into for this heel character.
So the Bucks note that they can't be ringside for a Continental title match, but we will be your match producers. We're going to catch all your replays. And it ends with Okada stating, I'm coming for your title. And they keep it short and sweet with Okada, and this works perfectly.
The dynamic is they're figuring it out, and especially for Okada in presenting him as like a substantial part of the show without having to speak substantially in English, it's effective. They showed him at the beginning of this show, of course, coming out of the Ferrari, and a Ferrari, by the way, that we all walked past, heading into the building.
It's just parked like right outside of the building.
Yeah, we're like, oh, whose car is that? It turns out it was Okada's. Anyway, so they're making him look like a star just by simply, presenting him in these sort of fashions, and it's effective so far.
Yeah, all the new additions, Okada, Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné, all got huge reactions. Like I would state the three of them and Copeland were, you can just they to me were the four major stars on this show to the audience.
Yeah.
And with that, Okada's music plays and he comes out, giant roar for his entrance. And we get the Continental Championship match challenging Eddie Kingston. And Kingston takes a DDT on the floor. And we cut to the back where the Bucks are producing the match alongside Tony Khan and applauding this DDT.
Well, great looking.
Did they physically cut to themselves? Like when we go to the back, they must be making that cut, right?
This might be part of the invisible camera that they are slowly maybe introducing in convenient portions.
You're right.
Tony
Kingston fires back with chops, hits this double overhook suplex, and then hits an STO on Okada, sliding forearm for a 2 count, and then lands the Hurricane, but Okada kicks out, and he hits a spinning version of the Rainmaker, and Kingston gets his arms up to block it, and this injures the forearm of Okada. And the crowd is chanting for both back and forth throughout this. Kingston tries for a half and half, and then Okada stops it by grabbing Paul Turner and then rakes the eyes of Kingston, ducks the Hurricane, slams down Kingston, and then just lifts him up by the wrist, hits the Rainmaker, and you get with the eye rake, close to a clean finish here. 15 minutes, 52 seconds, and Okada wins the Continental Championship, and we do have the fracturing of the Continental crown.
In speaking to people that I ran into or in and around the arena, I was most curious.
People or person?
People. Okay. Multiple people I asked about this because I was most curious about people's reactions to this particular match, Eddie Kingston versus Kazuchika Okada. It was certainly a good match, and just by listening to the crowd reactions, they were massive throughout the entire thing. But if you had high expectations for this one on the level of, the best Okada matches or even the best Eddie Kingston matches, I could see why some would leave disappointed because this was not a pay-per-view Okada match. This was a made-for-TV format heel Okada match. And I ultimately felt like that was the main interest for me watching this match, is to see how Okada would be able to adapt to TV format. Yes, I know on Fight TV at nordvpn.com/postwrestling you can watch without commercials, but they do wrestle like it's a commercial break. You're getting even a rear chin lock from Okada throughout. So they're wrestling this match differently. They're also not doing the ramp up sort of major climactic finish sequences like you would see in a New Japan match. And I think all of that is done because maybe for conservation, just because this is a TV match, not a pay-per-view match. For that, you have to pay for Okada to see that. And also, they wanted to get over the Rainmaker as just a very devastating one-hit move that doesn't require multiple kickouts to finish. But beyond that, I think as a heel, Okada displayed like a lot of differences from his usual wrestling style. For one thing, he was playing cowardly heel at times, like letting Eddie chase him around the ring. Something that really stood out to me was just his new reliance on facial expressions, which I think are great. He has a great cocky like laugh that he's utilizing a whole lot more. And just like I find him to be like, at least a lot more interesting to watch now, simply based off of facial expressions. When in the past, watching him in New Japan, I think he'd always been a bit more stoic in at least, that department.
Yeah, I rewatched this match and I enjoyed this. I thought Eddie Kingston in particular I thought he was great in his role of making this like a significant obstacle for Okada. I thought I liked the finish where it just came out of nowhere, where you really established this Rainmaker as this move that is going to all you needed. What was the one here? Yeah, like I don't know. I didn't have too many complaints about this match. And this crowd, like sometimes when you're in the building, you might like amplify like how well it comes off. They were red hot for this match throughout. I mean, they saw both guys as big stars, not just Okada. They saw Eddie Kingston as an equal. And yeah, it's kind of more another title in the mix. Although I wonder how much the ROH and New Japan Strong titles are really going to be in circulation on AEW proper. Like this, the Continental title is going to be the title, but it is again a further. And I guess we'll see if Kingston stays with the ROH title after Supercard of Honor, if they move that onward. But this gets Okada into a prominent position to continue. Like it's a solid person to have as the follow-up as this champion. And then the direction is Pac, who comes out and stares down Okada. And that looks to be the first title program for Okada.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really too upset about like these titles being split at this point. It's like I think it was the Triple Crown was a neat gimmick for the tournament and specifically for Eddie Kingston. But I think long term, maybe we should have always expected them to be split eventually, especially for something like a New Japan Strong that belongs in a completely different company. I wouldn't expect to see that title, especially, but maybe even the ROH title recognized that much on AEW television, other than when it's being held by somebody who frequently appears in AEW. But it's I don't get that bothered by it. It's just it's another thing. And having the Continental on Okada, I'm assuming this might be Tony's way of giving Okada like a long title run to, first of all, establish the Continental crown and also to promote major matches. They are running into like a case where, I mean, it works for maybe some of us, but man, imagine a new viewer coming in and you've got to keep track of the international title. You got to keep track of the Continental title. And we're just talking about AEW championships at this point, not even including ROH and all the other ones. TBS or TNT. I mean, like there's like 4 men's championships alone. And what really distinguishes each of them? What? The fact that like you can't have people be out for ringside, like, is that enough to justify a brand new title?
Yeah, that could have been just a unilateral ruling for title matches, but it's specific to this one. Well, it's the continent, okay? The continent is at stake, and this is our ruler of the continent.
So this is the North American Championship.
I guess, yeah.
No, what is the international championship then?
Well, he wanted, someone's got to oversee Mexico, Canada, the U.S., and that's Okada.
But Continental, I guess it's not the Intercontinental. It's only within the continent.
Yes. Okay. That's what the international title will take care of the other continents.
And so the TNT championship, is that only defended on? Should that only be defended on TNT?
only the cable homes that TNT is available in. So it's less influential over the last year, probably 5% less than last year.
So it should never be defended in Canada like we saw because we don't get TNT.
No, then it should only stream or air.
They should have made a TSN title for this main event.
Maybe they could just tape a match and then stream it in the building for people to watch. But you have to pay to watch this title defense.
Okada looks good with the championship. Let's give him one. That's basically what this comes down to.